A Hayes County woman dies just days after cosmetic surgery. The family only recently finding out what caused her death, and they've learned even more from our own Jody Barr's investigation.
Yes, and it led us to discover there may be something you don't know about your own doctor until it's too late.
Well, that's just a picture of her and me, another picture of us, and there's her and her little dog.
If the only thing you ever saw of Caitlin Duvall
Do another pose. Which one? I don't know.
came from the pictures and videos of her life, you'd likely have seen everything you need to know her. At 26, Caitlin had trained as a chef in France and had traveled the world. Now, back home, she'd settled on her career. She was on her way to a master's degree in healthcare administration at Texas State.
She was very proud, very excited of her accomplishments, yes. Had a big party planned. The doors were just opening for that kid.
But Caitlin Duvall never got to see that party. Part of that celebration, Caitlin wanted what her mother calls minor body sculpting. In July, Laura Duvall and her daughter searched for the right surgeon. They settled on Dr. Lawrence Broder's Belisa Med Spa in Cedar Park. Caitlin had a liposuction and breast augmentation and went home that afternoon.
She's young, healthy, 26 years old, you know, picture of health. So why not? She wants to do it, it's your money. It was her birthday gift and her graduation gift, she said, to herself.
The next day, Laura says her daughter started complaining of severe pain in her arm and shoulder.
You think, okay, why is she gone? If she is dead, why? And there's no good answer.
The autopsy provided the family some answers. The medical examiner wrote, Caitlin died as a result of complications of a cosmetic surgical procedure, developing a toxic shock-like syndrome, which can be a complication of certain bacterial infections. Within days of her procedure, and despite aggressive therapy at the hospital, doctors could not save her. But what the Duvall family didn't know at the time of her cosmetic surgery, not until we told them, the Texas Medical Board was investigating Dr. Broder in a separate case from January 2016. The board's findings claim Broder committed multiple violations of the Texas Medical Practice Act in that 2016 case.
Just knowing that a complaint was lodged against a doctor would be enough to deter her from going forward with elective surgery. She definitely would not have even gone.
And now, we've confirmed the board has received a new complaint against Broder and is investigating that one to determine whether any violations occurred. Through his attorney, the doctor tells us, due to patient confidentiality, he is unable to comment at this time.
So, Jody, how can I tell if my doctor is under investigation?
Well, Sydney, that's exactly what we'll explain for you as we uncover how the state's oversight of doctors could impact the safety of every patient.
You think, okay, why is she gone? If she is dead, why? And there's no good answer.
At 26 years old, Caitlin Duvall was dead, just days after cosmetic surgery at the Cedar Park doctor's office last July. An autopsy recently revealed the cause of death, complications from that surgery.
But when Caitlin went under the knife, she didn't know her doctor was under investigation by the Texas Medical Board.
As KXAN investigator Jody Barr reveals, that's something you might never know about your very own doctor.
Dr. Lawrence Broder's YouTube channel is full of videos advertising his cosmetic surgery options available at Belisa Med Spa centers in Cedar Park, Austin, Killeen, and Round Rock. In March 2016, the Texas Medical Board got a complaint against Dr. Broder, accusing him of multiple violations of the state's Medical Practice Act while performing a liposuction on a woman in January 2016. The complaint filed by a doctor who was fired by Broder. It took the Medical Board a year and a half to investigate the allegations against Dr. Broder and make its findings public.
It was not a normal case.
The medical board's report shows Ryan Harlan was helping in the operating room during that 2016 liposuction. Investigators reported Broder failed to maintain an adequate medical record, did not safeguard against potential complications, and used workers not qualified in the operating room. Investigators wrote in the report that patient said it felt like surgical instruments were rubbing against her bones.
She was definitely in pain. She was, in my opinion, in more pain than any other patient I've seen.
For the pain, the board investigation shows Broder gave the patient multiple lorazepam pills and an unspecified amount of hydrocodone.
More medication. That was his response. Just give her some more medication.
The investigation also shows Broder terminated the procedure and gave the woman more meds to revive her.
She lost consciousness, she turned blue, was unresponsive. The patient is awake during the whole procedure, so nobody should be losing consciousness.
That patient survived. Harlan quit the day after that liposuction. The board's report includes 5 aggravating factors against Broder and 0 mitigating factors in his defense. We asked Broder for an interview, but he had his attorney decline. His attorney did provide us a copy of his answer to the medical board's complaint. Broder denies all allegations against him relating to this complaint, responding that it contains numerous misstatements, assuming facts not in evidence, erroneous conclusions, and taking as truth the comments of former employees and business partners who were terminated and actively involved in civil lawsuits against Dr. Broder. We then met up with Broder here at his office to get his side of the story. I'm with KXAN. I'm Jody Barr. We're here to talk to you about the complaint. Okay.
I'm the police.
Okay, that's fine, but
Yeah, you just move to get the out.
you don't want to answer any of these questions.
I don't want to answer anything. These are a bunch of lies, and whatever you want to publish, you do, okay? But
Well, we'd like to include your side, sir, to be fair to you. And we'd really like to talk to you about the Caitlin Duvall case. Well, call me if you would like to talk about this before we broadcast this. Thank you. Dr. Lawrence Broder never called us, but his attorney has informed us that Dr. Broder now has filed to have 2 of the allegations against him dismissed, asserting the board lacks evidence. Because Dr. Broder denied all claims against him, the medical board's complaint now goes before a judge with the State Office of Administrative Hearings. That's not set for trial until October. And now we've confirmed the board has received a new complaint against Dr. Broder and is investigating that one to determine whether any violations occurred. Through his attorney, the doctor tells us, due to patient confidentiality, he is unable to comment at this time. Meanwhile, under Texas law, Broder is permitted to continue to practice.
Coming up, it took the Texas Medical Board a year and a half to investigate this case and make its findings public.
To finish the investigation may take longer, but they should right away say, is there a risk to other people or not?
Would you want to know if your doctor is under investigation before going under the knife? Caitlin Duvall's family questions if the medical board delay could have cost their daughter her life. When complaints kept quiet, a KXAN investigation returns. Now, complaints kept quiet. A KXAN investigation continues. Would you want to know if your doctor is under investigation before going under the knife? In Texas, it can take nearly a year before the state's medical board makes that information public.
The reason for that, the state doesn't want a doctor's reputation tarnished by baseless accusations.
And most accusations filed against doctors are never substantiated. Since 2010, medical board records show 51,000 complaints against doctors. A quarter of them turned into an investigation. Meanwhile, KXAN investigator Jody Barr discovered those doctors continue treating patients and performing surgeries.
If you ever make a trip down Ranch Road 32 near Blanco, you'll pass this sign. Caitlin Duvall adopted this highway in May, but she never got the chance to do
Tying it up.
what her family's doing with it now. Duvall went into the Cedar Park Cosmetic Surgery Center last July. 4 days later, she was dead. Did Caitlin have any health problems that would have made a surgery like this a risk?
Oh, no, she didn't. No.
When she went in for this procedure, this was a healthy 26-year-old woman.
Extremely. Yeah.
The family only recently learned results of the autopsy. It shows the cause of death as complications of cosmetic surgical procedure. The medical examiner wrote, Caitlin developed a toxic shock-like syndrome. That's a complication of certain bacterial infections. And despite aggressive therapy at the hospital, ER doctors couldn't save her life. But there's something her family only recently learned when we contacted them. The doctor who performed Caitlin's liposuction was under investigation by the Texas Medical Board for a procedure he did on another patient in 2016.
No, no clue. No.
The case against Dr. Lawrence Broder was not made public until a month after Caitlin's death, 17 months after the board received the original complaint that sparked his review in the first place.
How would I know that information? That's not open to the public.
In Texas, complaints against doctors become public only after the board finishes investigating and only if it determines the claim has merit. We discovered that typically takes about 300 days on average. Meanwhile, leaving patients in the dark and allowing doctors to continue practicing.
If we find that this person cannot keep on practicing for whatever reason, and we find that as part of our investigation, we're going to act on it immediately.
Dr. Sharif Zafran is the Texas Medical Board president.
Remember that there's two things that we're balancing out here. There's the protection of our public, but also we got to make sure that we are going through a due process with our licensees.
Zafran says procedural hurdles can drag these investigations out.
It's not a perfect process, but that's what we're kind of limited to be able to do.
So, Jody, the question is, can the state do anything to close these cases faster?
Well, Sydney, the board has added 20 new investigators in the last 5 years, and that is helping. But when doctors dispute their findings, the case can drag on. It's going on almost 2 years since the board started investigating Dr. Broder.
And we know lawmakers reviewed the medical board just last year. This wasn't something that came up to fix?
No, Robert, it wasn't.
All right, Jody, thank you.
Is she aware of the amount of time it takes to close investigations
Yeah, I
into
think
doctors?
that if it really truly is that long, that does seem kind of long to me, and that's something maybe we should look into.
We take what we found to state lawmakers with power to tackle this topic ahead of the next legislative session. Complaints kept quiet, a KXAN investigation tomorrow night after the Olympics.